I am 70 years old, and I am not here to tell you that these are your golden years. That is a lovely phrase for a greeting card, but it is not the full story. It is not even the most important part of it. I am here to have the conversation I wish someone had with me when I was 30, 40, or even 50. I want to share the 5 harsh truths about this age that no one really prepares you for. This is not meant to scare you. It is meant to arm you, because knowing the terrain ahead is the only way to navigate it without stumbling. So, if you want the polished, sugar-coated version of aging, this probably is not for you. But if you want the unfiltered reality, the kind of talk that can actually help you live better now, then stay with me. Let us get into what is really coming. The first harsh truth is that the timelines shrink and your priorities explode. The most profound truth of reaching your 70s is the sudden, undeniable awareness of the finish line. For most of your life, time feels abstract. It is this vast, open field. You make 5-year plans, 10-year plans. You think about someday. You tell yourself, I will get to it. But when you hit 70, that field is no longer a sprawling prairie. You can see the fence on the other side. Now, statistics can be tricky. You hear that the average life expectancy is in the high 70s. But here is the interesting part. If you have already made it to 70, you have beaten some of the odds, and your personal life expectancy actually stretches a bit longer. A man who reaches 75, for instance, can statistically expect to live well into his 80s. But this does not feel like a victory. It feels like someone just activated a countdown clock in the middle of your living room. It is not a number on a page anymore. It is a felt reality. I used to measure my life in years. Now I catch myself measuring it in seasons. I think I will have maybe 10 more really good summers if I am lucky. I look at my youngest grandchild, who is 5, and I do the grim math. I will be 80 when he is 15. Will I see him graduate? Will I be around to offer advice when he falls in love for the first time? These questions are not morbid. They are simply there. They become the new wallpaper of your mind. And the effect of this realization is staggering. It is like a bomb goes off in your priority. The things that used to consume my thought, career ambition, financial goals, what the neighbors thought of my car, seem almost ridiculous now. They have been burned away. What remains is crystal clear. Did I spend enough time with my wife? Did I tell my children I was proud of them, not just for what they did, but for who they are? Did I laugh enough? Did I ever learn to play that guitar? The harshness is not that your time is limited. We all know that intellectually. The harshness is the sudden, gut punch realization that the someday you were always banking on is actually right now. It is today. And the urgency to stop wasting a single moment on things that do not feed your soul becomes an almost frantic, desperate need. This is not a gentle reminder. It is a 5-alarm fire, and you are left standing in the middle of it, finally understanding what really matters. The second harsh truth is that your body becomes a part-time job you cannot quit. While you are busy staring at that shrinking timeline, another reality sets in. Your body, the one you took for granted for decades, becomes a high-maintenance, unpredictable part-time job. You can never clock out. There are no vacations, no sick days. This is the new normal. For most of your life, your health is a background process. You get a cold, you recover. You sprain an ankle, it heals. You do not think about your blood pressure. You simply live. That changes in your 70s. Over 90% of adults over 65 have at least one chronic health condition, and nearly 80% have 2 or more. This is not about being sick. It is about becoming a manager. You are the CEO of a declining enterprise, your own body. High blood pressure affects more than 60% of people my age. Arthritis is a constant companion for over half of us. Then there is high cholesterol, the threat of diabetes, and the slow, creeping decline of your senses. My morning routine used to be simple. Wake up, shower, coffee, go. Now, it is a ritual of management. I begin with the pill organizer. 1 pill for blood pressure, 1 for cholesterol, a supplement for my joint. Then comes the slow stretching, just to convince my back and knee that getting out of bed is a good idea. Every morning is a negotiation with stiffness and ache. Some days we strike a good deal. Some days we do not. Energy becomes your new currency. It is more valuable than time or money. You wake up with a finite amount, and you must budget it carefully. A trip to the grocery store costs something. Playing with the grandkids for an hour is a major withdrawal. You start doing the math. If I go to this lunch, I will not have the energy for that walk later. You learn to say no, not because you do not want to, but because you literally cannot afford it. There is also a constant, low-grade anxiety about the next thing to go wrong. You start to fear falls. You get frustrated when you cannot open a jar. Hearing loss makes parties feel isolating as you struggle to keep up with conversation. It feels like living in a house where you know the plumbing will fail and the roof will leak. You just do not know when. So you spend your days patching things up and hoping for the best. It is exhausting work, and the pay is simply getting to wake up and do it all over again tomorrow. The third harsh truth is that your world shrinks and relationships become everything. When you are young, your social life is all about expansion. You are always meeting new people at school, at work, work, wherever. Your world is constantly growing. But in your 70s, your world begins to shrink. Sometimes it is gradual, and sometimes it is brutally fast. As it does, the relationships that remain become so precious, it is almost terrifying. The most obvious reason is loss. You begin going to more funerals than weddings. Friends you have known for 50 years, people who knew you before gray hair and mortgages, start to disappear. One day, you're laughing with them about an old memory, and the next day, you're trying to comfort their family. Each loss is a punch to the gut. It is a reminder of your own mortality, but also the erasure of a shared history. A part of your own story vanishes with them. It is a grief that often leads to profound loneliness. But your world also shrinks in other ways. Your mobility may decrease. Your limited energy reduces your social life. Retirement strips you of the built-in social network of work. Suddenly, staying connected takes deliberate effort. And here is where the truth pivots from harsh to beautiful. As the number of relationships dwindles, the quality of those that remain intensifies in a way you could never have imagined. The love you feel for your spouse, your children, your closest friend becomes the central organizing principle of your life. All the trivial arguments and grudges that seemed so important in your fifth just melt away. You simply do not have the time or energy for them. You find yourself watching your wife read a book and being struck with a wave of gratitude so strong it almost hurt. A simple phone call from your daughter becomes the highlight of your day. When your son asks for advice, it is not an interruption, it is a gift. You realize that these people are your true legacy, not your house, not your career, them. The harsh part is knowing how fragile it all is. You know these connections are also subject to time. This forces you into presence like never before. You listen intently. You hug longer. You make sure your last words are always "I love you." You finally learn, after 70 years, that relationships are not part of life. They are life. Everything else is just detail. The fourth harsh truth is that you are forced to make peace with less. For the first 60-something years of your life, you are programmed to want more. A bigger house, a nicer car, more accomplishment. The entire point of modern life is to accumulate. But in your 70s, this drive reverses. You are forced to make peace with less. And in doing so, you discover a freedom you never knew existed. It often begins with the practical but deeply emotional act of downsizing. The family home that once overflowed with the chaos of children becomes too large and too quiet. The upkeep is draining. The stairs are a challenge. So you move. And that practical decision triggers an emotional reckoning. You must sort through the archaeological dig of your own life. The attic, the basement, the garage. These are not storage space. They are museums of your past self. You uncover old college textbook, your children's school project, the suit you wore to a big interview, camping gear you swore you would use again. For decades, these items represented potential and memory. Now, they simply represent weight. I remember standing in my garage, staring at shelves of tools and equipment, and realizing I had not touched most of it in a decade. I was maintaining my possession. They were not serving me. I was serving them. And for what? So that my children would have to deal with it all later? Letting go was agonizing at first. It felt like throwing away parts of myself. But with every box that went to charity, I felt lighter. Cluttered environments elevate the stress hormone cortisol, and I could physically feel that stress lifting from me. This process is about more than decluttering. It is about simplifying your entire life. You hold on to fewer but deeper friendships. You stop buying things you do not need. You realize experiences are more valuable than possessions. You eat more simply. You dress for comfort rather than to impress. You stop caring about keeping up with the Joneses because you realize the Joneses are probably just as tired and weighed down as you were. The harsh part is confronting how much of what you spent your life chasing was meaningless in the grand scheme. That realization can crush your ego, but the liberation that follows is immense. By embracing less, you create space in your home, your calendar, and your mind. And that space lets you focus on what truly enriches you: a walk, a good book, a meaningful conversation, peace of mind. You finally understand that true wealth is not about having more. It is about needing less. The fifth harsh truth is that your mindset is the final frontier. This last truth determines the quality of your remaining years. Your body will inevitably decline, but your spirit is still up to you. Your mindset becomes the final battleground. You must make a choice every single day. Will you age with bitterness or will you age with brilliance? It is so easy to become the caricature of the grumpy old man. And frankly, you feel like you have earned the right. You are in pain. You cannot do things you once could. The world changes in ways you do not understand. It is the easiest thing in the world to retreat into cynicism and complaint. Bitterness is a comfortable, well-worn coat. You see it everywhere. Men who were once vibrant become defined by their ailment and their outrage. Their world shrinks to the size of their armchair. Depression is a significant risk for older adults, but it is not a normal part of aging. It is often brought on by the very challenges I have already described: health struggles, loss loss, isolation? The harsh truth is that you are more vulnerable to it than ever before, and you must actively fight back. And that fight is all about mindset. Here's the surprising thing. Research suggests your 70s can actually be among your happiest years. How is that possible? Because with age comes an emotional superpower. You get better at regulating your emotions. You learn not to sweat the small stuff because you've seen it all before. You know bad times pass, and you savor the good times because you know they pass too. But this does not simply happen. It is a conscious choice. It is the decision to stay curious despite physical decline. It is the choice to learn something new. How to use a tablet to see your grandkids' faces. How to identify birds at the feeder. It is choosing curiosity over complaint. It is focusing on what you can do rather than dwelling on what you cannot. I have good days and bad days. Some mornings I wake up with my arthritis screaming at me, and my first thought is a bitter one. It takes effort to pivot. I say to myself, my hands hurt today, yes, but the sun is out. The coffee is hot. My wife is here beside me. There is still goodness. It is a constant practice. It is work. Your physical strength may fade. Your career is done. Your children are grown. What remains as a true measure of who you are is how you choose to think. You can allow the harsh realities of this decade to crush your spirit, or you can use them as a catalyst to become more grateful, more present, and more loving than you have ever been. That is the final, stark choice of your 70s. So those are the 5 harsh truths as I see them. The clock is louder. Your body becomes a job. Your world shrinks. Less becomes more. And your mind is the last frontier. It may sound bleak, I know. But the point of sharing these truths is not to leave you in despair. It is to turn on the lights. Because here is the ultimate truth. Confronting these harsh realities is what gives you the chance at a profoundly meaningful life. It is the awareness of the limited timeline that makes today precious. It is the effort of managing your health that teaches you to respect your body. It is the shrinking of your social circle that teaches you what love really means. It is embracing less that brings peace. And it is the daily battle for your mindset that builds a spirit that will not break. You do not have to wait until you are 70 to live by these lessons. You can begin now. Do not wait to prioritize what matters. Do not take your health or your relationships for granted. Begin letting go of the clutter, both physical and emotional, that weighs you down. This has been my experience, but everyone's journey is different. For those who are older, what truths did I miss? For those who are younger, what are your fears or questions about this stage of life? Let us have the conversation that matters, because it is one we all need to have. If this kind of talk is something you value, subscribe. Thank you for listening.